Okay, I just moved ahead of the slide too.
Do you have a train on your slide?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so the next set of things that we're going to talk about is the project proponents here have done a pretty good job of putting a lot of myths out there, and I think if I think about the sorts of things that I have to do during the course of a day, a lot of times I'm dealing with debunking these myths out there. I mean, I feel like many instances that I'm on an episode of Mythbusters. But let's go through some of these. One of the myths that's out there is that coal dust is only an issue where you're 100 miles or so from the mines. And certainly when you look at a 3% loss of load during the course of transit from the mine to the shipping facility, that's where the lion's share of dust comes out there. But it's a problem in other places as well. And why we know this is that we look at things like Seward, Alaska currently has a Clean Water Act lawsuit against the railroad and the coal facility there. They ship 1 million metric tons there rather than 48 million metric tons there, and the winds blow that coal dust off the trains and also off the piles that are near the port, so much so that it's compromised water quality there. When you look at Lambert's Point, which is a facility in Virginia, and they've done sampling there, they found that the soil within a half kilometer of Lambert's Point is 20% coal dust. And that's a facility where the trains dump directly into the ships rather than the open storage which is being proposed at Cherry Point. So clearly other areas are experiencing dust in sites not 100 miles from the mines. And then we look at Roberts Bank, which is a facility up in British Columbia just north of the proposed facility, and there they have a small dead zone, an area that's very, very low in oxygen around the site, as well as black tides in areas around the site. And the dust there, we're hearing, blows up to 5 miles from that facility. There's also another myth out there that basically says, well, the Powder River Basin coal is low sulfur coal. Sulfur is a problem in coal, so it's better for the Chinese to burn this low sulfur coal than their own high sulfur coal. You know, that may be true on some level, but only if they burn that coal in the Powder River Basin. Once you stick it on a train, and then once you stick it on a ship and ship it across the Pacific, the carbon budget increases, certainly because you've got more emissions, but the sulfur budget also increases and makes up the difference because you have something called bunker fuel, which is what big bulker ships use to power themselves, and that can have up to 4.5% sulfur. So that's another one that's been shut down. Another interesting one that we keep hearing is that if we don't build this coal terminal either here, and there's another one proposed in Longview, Washington, that the coal will go through here anyway because it will be shipped to British Columbia, and we don't want to ship those jobs up to British Columbia too. That's wrong on two levels. One is that the capacity in British Columbia, when you start looking at the two coal terminals they have at this point, one is Roberts Bank, which we mentioned before, which is pretty much at capacity, but there's a thought that they could increase that capacity by 4 million metric tons. Then there's another facility called Ridley Terminal at Prince Rupert, quite a bit north of Port Roberts, where there's a proposal at this point that's been bandied back and forth to double the size of that facility. So it's 12 million metric tons at this point, and it could go to 24 million metric tons. They're having trouble getting that approved. It's a Crown-owned facility, so the government owns it, and the government is a little, let's say, unanxious to extend the okay for that facility to go out and borrow the money that they need for expansion. There's also something else that's happening in that area, is that there are several coal mines in British Columbia, and they're asking why a facility owned by their government is giving preferential treatment to American firms, and so they're kind of up in arms about the new capacity that their tax dollars are paying for going to U.S. firms. The second issue there is one of route. And when we look at the Powder River Basin on this slide, the 3 yellow dots over there, it's a long way to Prince Rupert from there. So even if they do, and the U.S. is able to capture the 4 million metric tons expansion potential at West Shore, Roberts Bank, which is the same facility, it's really doubtful that they'll ship it through Bellingham and use the same route through Spokane to the south, through Vancouver, and then north through Olympia, Tacoma, and Seattle, and then to Bellingham. It just doesn't make any sense. I think the route is something like 2,700 miles, which is rumored to be the longest coal delivery route out there. Another rumor that's been out there is that the environmental community that has been negotiating for years on the development of this fourth pier at this facility has said that we would be okay with it, and now we're saying we're not okay with it. So SSA Marine, the company that's driving this, and you also hear them referred to as the Gateway Pacific Terminal or the Pacific International Terminals, all the same beast. They made a proposal to ship 8 million metric tons, destroy 5.8 acres of wetlands, and to ship potash and wheat in 1992. There was a lawsuit that was associated with that, and then a negotiated settlement that came out of that basically said, you know, with some conditions and with the proper protections in there, that plan might work. So in 2011, they come back and they go, okay, that's fine, we've got this approved plan, but what we really want to do is we want to ship 54 million metric tons, we want to destroy 162 acres of wetlands, and we want to ship mostly coal, 88% coal. And they're trying to, or did try to have this considered as the same project. Whatcom County, which is the county that was in charge of the environmental impact process here, now they're co-leads with the Washington Department of Ecology, basically said, no, that's not permissible. You can't come in and have a permit and then have the revision to that permit be 7 times the size of the original permit. So right now, there are no existing permits, and they're at sort of a wait-and-see process there. Another myth that's been put out there is that this traffic level is within historic levels, and what are we whining about anyway? We've seen this level of traffic in our community before. Well, depends on how you look at this. You know, it perhaps maybe with number of trains, but when you look at the metric tons shipped per year, in the year 2002, the estimated loads going both into Canada and then coming out of Canada south were 6 million metric tons or so. There was a study to try and get container ships off our interstate here and stop traffic jams. So they estimated in 2012 that traffic would carry about 9 million metric tons. Our sense now with the increased coal traffic is that it's probably, at this point, we're probably at about 11 million metric tons at this point. This proposal, by 2015, with the Peabody Coal contract, would be 34 million metric tons, and at 2026, when it is scheduled to be at full capacity, it's roughly 10 times the amount of cargo that was shipped in 2002. Jobs are a big issue here, as they are anywhere in the United States. Unemployment in Whatcom County at this point is somewhere around 9+, the same for Skagit County, which is the county to the south of us here. The problem with talking about jobs here is that the job numbers, permanent jobs, not construction jobs that will be over in a year and a half or 2 years, are 89 in 2015, and 213 by 2026. So about a half generation from now. And the concern for people here is that, well, we're hoping that this project will help, end unemployment here and solve all these issues. But the problem is it's not going to, because most of these jobs are going to go to people who don't currently live here in the area. And certainly if the people who are unemployed at this point have to wait 15 years for a job, I'm not thinking that's going to service them all that well. And then I think in a real sense, we have to look at the character of the companies that are making these assertions and ask ourselves whether they're companies that actually keep their word. Peabody Coal is one of the companies that mines in the Powder River Basin. As of this point, they've only fulfilled 4% of their promised mitigation and restoration projects. There was a study that happened recently that looked at energy companies, coal companies in particular, about them coming in and trying to sell their projects and what they actually deliver, and the conclusion of that report was that they come through with about half of what they originally promised. And SSA Marine has essentially done nothing since 1999 to satisfy what they said they'd do through the settlement agreement, and within the last couple of weeks they started pre-construction projects and testing out on the site without a permit in an area that wasn't covered under their existing permit. So they've already broken the law, so we have great reason not to trust them.